your shoulder tell you to show up, please do. If not, then it was nice to meet you. And every day he showed up.
Why did you say that?
There's a depth of understanding in terms of the headspace that he is in. And so when you can connect, like genuinely connect with that, you truly try to understand another person, and there's power with that. In the course of those 36 hours, multiple times he was very aggressive. He was very condescending. He called me a liar. Things he accused me of, I don't believe you are who you say you are. I don't believe you're here for the things you're saying you're here for. I don't even know if you work for the federal government. And he's essentially questioned my integrity. Now, my purpose is not to make him feel that I'm smarter than him, is not to belittle or berate him or have a question of integrity. Because I could have said, you kidnapped an 11-year-old girl and kept her captive for 18 years, fathered 2 children with her, the first one at the age of 14, and your question of my integrity? I didn't do that because that's not why I was there. And so despite the fact that he got upset, despite the fact that he called me and accused me of all these different things, I stayed on my purpose. I stayed on my mission. And when we were done, when we finished, I went back to the prosecuting attorney and said, he's not your guy. And he said, are you sure? And I said, I bet my career on it.
How did you know?
There's a lot of things in regards to when you're looking at people from the perspective of telling the truth in terms of the way that they talk and engage with you. Our conversation on Tuesday and our conversation on Wednesday and our conversation on Thursday and our conversation on Friday all stayed very consistent. If I'm asking him for further clarification, he's providing for further clarification. If I'm talking to him about something and there's some type of spontaneous correction where he's like, wait a minute, this happened before this, those are indicators of truth. And if there are things that he talks about in terms of like things that are of complication, nobody's day goes perfect. And there were many times when he was telling me about the things he had done because he was a serial rapist, and a serial kidnapper, and he would drive around and pick up women and hitchhiking, and he would, rape them and let them go. Oftentimes we would get into the details of like when those didn't go well, right? And when all of a sudden the girl would fight him off and run away. And so there was all these different complications and different things that he would talk about.
He handled the complications consistently, is what you're saying.
When complications are introduced to a story, right? People who lie don't do that, right? Truth tellers will often do that because it's just like, this is just what happened. Like, these are the things that happened. This is my life in terms of where things were going to go. Overall, in terms of how that conversation went, there were those type of indicators that just made it trend more truthful than not. Like, there wasn't this big gap or this big weird moment when we're talking about Michaela Garrett to where all of a sudden it's like missing pieces that I have to put in. There are no cues to deception. There are things that all of a sudden seem different and require you to do more questions, more asking. But that didn't occur around the time that we were looking for with that.
Okay.
So we finally, when we finished, and then they went back and they looked at the evidence, they found a new fingerprint and were able to charge and convict the person who did that. The reason I bring all of that up is because for the purpose aspects of what we're talking about, not losing sight of what your mission is, being focused in terms of what that is, the power of communication and staying online as it relates to what you want to accomplish is really powerful because it keeps you on track and it keeps you engaged and reminds you of why you're there. Not every relationship deserves that. Like, there's just some relationships you're like, this just isn't worth it for me. If it matters to you,